Today what we are going to do is we are going to talk about coatings. We are going to talk about value additions that we have on our lenses, and maybe a little bit we'll touch upon different materials. Before we start, so this is my agenda of the talk. So next 1.5 hours, I'm going to take you not briefly, but to a great extent as to what is AR coating, what are the different value additions that we have in AR coating, why they are needed, and how we can differentiate different AR coatings with maybe the premium AR coatings. We are going to talk about eye health protection, which nobody else talks about. So you have the skill, you have been in this industry for long. So your major skill is dispensing, and how we can use that dispensing skills in order to promote more of eye health care, which a consumer today is looking for. We will also deal with some of the specialty lenses, some of the specialty coatings, like fog-free coatings or something like that. We will talk about photochromics, fashion range, mirror coatings. We will talk about polarized and less material with a special focus on polycarbonate lenses. Who am I? Now this is one of the slides which I wanted each one of us to think about when you arrive here this morning. What is it that's going on your mind? What is it that you want to take away from this session? So the first question to ask yourself is, who am I in this industry? Are you just an optician to sell some spectacles? Or is it something that you're looking at, some kind of value additions that you can do? How can you distinguish yourself from maybe the other players in the market? Are you just selling for a price? Or is it something that you are truly caring for your consumer and giving them what they need for their visual needs? So today, there are many things that we need to think about, and that's why the first question to begin wearing your thinking caps is, who am I and what am I supposed to do in this industry in your optical outlets? Are we clear? Each one of us have an X factor, right? This is one of the interesting slides that we also presented during the Varilux X series launch, and I want to reiterate on this. Now everybody over here has an X factor, right? An X factor is something that is unique. So what you have, maybe the other outlet may not be having. So you have something unique, or what this outlet has, maybe some other outlet or some other players in the market may not be having. So you are unique. There is something unique, and it's an X factor's responsibility to find out what is unique that I can offer to my consumers so that my consumers keep coming back to me to buy the spectacles. An X factor is something that is sustainable. Today, we are talking about businesses which are sustainable. We know that we are in challenging times, but there are opportunities in the market. In these challenging times, and looking at the opportunities, how do we sustain our business is something that we are looking at being an X factor. Innovation is something that we need to talk about. Today, there are other players who have just entered into the market who are following you all. They're not bringing something new to the market. Yes, they are doing some big marketing campaigns to bring in the consumers, but you guys have the innovation. You guys have the innovation, and you have to push that innovation onto your consumers in order to be an X factor in the marketplace. So it's not responsibility of maybe just one optician or the staff or companies like Essilor or Vision Plus, but we all are missionaries into this trade. And we need to find out how we can push forward the innovations that you have on a platter into your stores, and definitely build success based on these factors. So, do we have the X factor within us? What is it? Let me ask this question to you. What is one of your biggest strengths that you feel you have? It can also be a collective answer. Yes, ma'am? Brain? Knowledge? Knowledge is your biggest strength? Wonderful. Anybody else? What is your biggest strength?
Confidence.
Confidence in dispensing? Very good. Anybody else would like to add to this?
Understanding.
Sorry, we have some visionaries of optical outlets here. So, sir, may I?
It's understanding.
Understanding of what?
Of everything, what you're going to, because
Understanding of the products, understanding of the consumers, understanding of the competition. Yes?
from myself it will be understanding of product and consumer. So those are the things which need to be together.
Absolutely. Knowledge,
Brand support.
confidence in dispensing, knowing about the products,
Brand
it
support.
all goes to dispensing skills. You are the pioneers in dispensing skills, and nobody can take that away from you, right? Today, being from Essilor, I do go for a market visit. I walked into a Lenskart store, I walked into a Specs Makers, but the kind of confidence that they give me is only about price, price, price. Is that what you're looking for? Right? And at this stage, when I walk into a bigger traditional outlet, they ask me questions. They ask me, what is your vision need? They take me to a testing room. I went to Lenskart. I'm not bad mouthing Lenskart. I'm just giving you my experiences as a consumer. I walked into the store. I asked them, okay, let's go to the testing room. Actually, I had to ask them to take me to the testing room. They started. There was one optometrist who came. I don't know whether he was qualified, and he just tried to do the eye test, and it was horribly long. And then I removed my card of prescription and I showed it to him, this is my prescription. And you couldn't even test my eyes. I just walked out of the store. Okay? This was my experience as a consumer. I'm nowhere bad mouthing someone. Maybe the candidate was not very confident enough to test my eyes, but you guys are. You guys are confident in terms of dispensing, in terms of eye testing. And that's exactly where you need to play to your strength. And like me, there would be thousands and hundreds and thousands of consumers who would have gone through this experience. I'm 100% sure there would be these consumers walking into your stores, right? Nobody will agree? Yes? Yes.
But they are saying that a home testing, whether it's worked out or
It's just a refractometer that they take to the home. But is that the right way of testing your eyes? I don't think so. Right? So that's exactly what I'm talking about. We know that your strength is dispensing, and this strength we need to play upon. Your strength should be understanding your customer needs and giving them the solution. So are we doing that? Or are we just playing or selling product at a price? And this is not something that you should do. You should not be selling product at a price. You should be knowing what a consumer is looking for. So understand your consumer. Today we are getting into a lifestyle-based dispensing. Correct? You buy a car, you buy a house, you buy clothes, you buy a mixer grinder. Everybody asks you tons of questions. Me and my wife, we went to buy a mixer grinder. He asked my wife 10 questions. I said, wow, this is something to know. A 4,000, 5,000 rupees mixer grinder, when he has the ability to ask you 10 questions to understand what is your lifestyle, accordingly I will give you a mixer grinder. And we are talking about eyes. We are talking about eyes, and we are in a trade. We are having the products which we deal with one of the most beautiful creations of the world, and that's your eyes. And we all know that 80% of the information that your brain processes is through your eyes. And we fail to ask questions to our customers because we have a fear inside. If I ask questions to the consumer, he may walk away. He may think that we are trying to sell him something. That's not true. That's not true. Today, a consumer, when he's walking into your store, please ensure one thing that, or please be informed that the consumer has already done a lot of research on internet and he has come to your store. Right? So here, a consumer is walking into your store, not just because there is a Crizal, or there is a Varilux, or there is a Transition, or there is maybe some other brand available in your store. No. Because your store brand name is in the mind of the consumer. Am I correct? And that's exactly where you need to probe on lifestyle of the consumer. We have n number of products. For example, since I'm from Essilor, I can say, I have a Trio, I have a Crizal UV, I have a Crizal Forte UV, I have a Preventia, I have an Eisen. Whom do I give what? Now, unless and until you ask relevant questions, you will not be able to figure out what is it that the consumer is looking for. Or maybe the solution that you give them may not be the right solution. And they may come back saying that, I'm still having problems. Maybe they are very satisfied, good. But how can we ensure that the customer who walks out of your store is absolutely confident of what he has purchased and comes back to you maybe with 2, 3 other consumers? Correct? And that's the goal that we are looking for. So ask questions. Do not get scared to ask questions. The questions that a mixer grinder fellow asked my wife was, sir, veg eater, non-veg eater? Heavy masala grinding, chutney, all these things. How many times in a year, how many times in a week do you grind? All these questions. Because he wants to understand. So are we asking this question? So how many times do you use digital gadgets? How many hours do you spend in front of the computers? What are the kind of problems you go through? If you are wearing a spectacle, are you happy with your current spectacles? Do you think that you need something more from your spectacles than what you're wearing right now? Ask questions. If you don't ask questions, remember one thing. When you ask a consumer questions, he feels secured inside, I'm in safe hands. The consumer knows that this guy is asking me or this lady is asking me questions because they want to know more about what I do, what my visual needs are, and then give me the right product and the right solution. Price is later. Closing the deal is later. Let's talk about the solution first. Correct? Are you differentiated in your dispensing? Somebody else might be. Somebody else might be differentiated in dispensing. Are you selling premium brands? Today, we know the value chain would have come down. The cost of spectacle, the ticket size, average ticket size from your store would have come down. But how do we build this? How do we build this? So are you connecting with your consumers? Once a consumer walks away, are you connecting with your consumers? If you are not connecting with your consumers, someone else is sending them SMSs. Someone else is sending them good deals to walk into their store. Don't let your consumers go off. Constantly get in touch with them. I know a lot of best practices which our premium ECPs are doing in order to engage with their consumers. And they're able to sustain the business. They're able to get at least that business which they had earlier done with, right? So is everyone doing that? It's very, very critical that we do these kind of checks, whether you are, today a consumer is digital. It doesn't matter what age. Today a consumer is digital. Today, 20 to 30, 35 years, he's on Facebook, he's on Instagram, okay? And when you look 40 plus, they are on LinkedIn. So it's not that only youngsters are digital savvy. No. Everybody is digital savvy. But are you there where your consumer is? If you're not there, someone else will come and take your consumer away. So we are into lifestyle-based dispensing, and we need to ensure that we follow little basics to get in touch with consumers. Now there's a small research which we did internally, okay? There are no numbers per se, okay? This is something that when the marketing team of Essilor goes into the market, talking to ECPs, maybe also talking to some of the consumers offhand, what is one of the most important expectations from the lens? So if you see the expectations from low to high, one of the top expectation of the consumer is they are looking for clarity. Second is they're looking for durability. Third, they're looking for comfort, they're looking for protection, they're looking for cosmetics. Then comes your glare, impact resistance, fashion lenses, and specialty lenses if the consumer is in that kind of field. So these, this is not a market survey. This is a finding which we have, and we strongly believe that. But there is
Based on your own internal discussion?
internal discussions, yeah. But I have a slide. So we did have an international study in 8 different countries. Okay, this is in France, Germany, US, Japan, Hong Kong, Italy, Brazil, including India. There was there was an interview with the people who are already wearing HMC lenses or AR lenses, and who could be the prospects for AR lenses. Maybe they are wearing hardcore, but they need to move on to AR lenses, and some opticians also. So what is really the most important feature when purchasing a lens? Over 90% of the AR wearers, as well as the prospective AR wearers, have come back saying that clarity of vision is something that I'm looking for. Isn't it logical? A consumer is wearing a spectacle because he cannot see, right? And we need to give him the same clarity as if he's not wearing any spectacles. And how do we ensure we give this kind of solutions? So, AR lenses are our low hanging fruit. How do we pluck them? I know there are a lot of brands. So first, let's understand what is anti-reflection. Now, since you all have been in the business, so no need of defining this or taking this too much in depth. It's just a coating on the front and back surface of the lens, which helps or maximizes the transmission of light. So when you wear a lens, it's a foreign particle. So when a beam of light falls onto your lens, what happens? Sorry? Refraction happens. Okay. Reflection happens. Transmission happens. Absorption. Excellent. So we are all good in physics, right? So when a beam of light falls, these are the four phenomena that happens. I am not too worried about refraction and internal reflections. I'm not too worried about absorptions. But two big things that I'm going to talk about drastically is basically the transmission of light and the reflection of light. Because your clarity of lens depends upon how much light you're going to transmit through the lens, reducing the reflections. Okay? So it's inversely proportional. The transmission of light increases and the reflection reduces. So this is something that we need to figure out. So we have many brands in the market. Unbranded AR lenses are catching up. Chinese market has flooded our Indian market with a lot of options, right? Now, how do we step up and sell which are branded, which can give you the satisfaction? Now, we will see that later. So, from SLR point of view, at the mid-tier markets, we do have a Trio, which gives you a 97% transmission of light. Now, I don't think so there are any players who vouch for the transmission of light that happens. Correct? And the clarity of vision that we are talking about completely depends upon the transmission of light. So here we have Trio, which has a 97% transmission of light, but we also have Crizal lenses. Correct? Now why is that we should go for Crizal? Or why is it we should think about Crizal? Or why is it we should look at Crizal as one of the best solutions for your consumers? So we know that these were some of the options that the consumer were looking for. They are looking for clarity, durability, comfort, protection, and all those things, which was there in the previous slide also. So what does Crizal offer? So Crizal offers clarity. It has 99.2% transmission of light. It offers durability. It has scratch resistance. So we will see one of each of these aspects in coming slides. So what are we looking at? So we're looking at a consumer who can enjoy the peace of mind. A consumer, after purchasing the spectacles, is looking at satisfaction and peace of mind that I don't have to go back to the buyer till such time that I have to buy the next eyeglass or next spectacles. Now, what happens when you give this peace of mind to the consumer? And what is it over a period of years that Crizal has been able to build upon? It's basically trust, right? Crizal has been able to create that trust, and it is you, opticians, who have been able to gain that trust on Crizal and has been able to give that solution to the consumers. So we are looking at customer satisfaction. We are looking at loyalty of consumers. 90% of the consumers who have purchased Crizal will not go to any other brand. They will continue to buy Crizal, right? And we are looking at creation of value. Value to your consumers, because whatever he pays for Crizal, he gets, it delivers. Value for you, because when you sell a brand, you make value for your business. So it's a 360-degree value creation for all of us. Some facts about Crizal, which I would like to bring forward. It's one of the world's #1 anti-reflection lens. Gives you 99.2% transmission of light. It has been recently awarded by Economic Times as the most promising brand. It's the highest selling anti-reflection lens in the world. Every second there is a Crizal lens which is being sold in the market. Now there is a calculation which has happened based on which we are claiming this, right? We have sold more than 600 million pieces of Crizal as of 2017. worldwide. But do we only talk about anti-reflection? We know that Crizal as a brand, as a lens, gives you the best anti-reflection in terms of 99.2% transmission of light. Is that it that we are looking at? Or we are also looking at something else? We are looking at the durability aspect. And durability aspect is just not about scratch resistance, but there are various other things that can spoil or bring down the durability of your lenses. We're talking about scratches, we're talking about smudges, we're talking about water, dust, right? And maybe to some extent fog. So we have a separate set of lenses for fog. So when we talk about coating, so when you have a lens, I remember when I first got introduced to spectacles, and when the optician was trying to sell me an anti-reflection, he used some concept of, sir, this has 8 layers. I had no clue what 8 layers are and what it helps me with and what it does. And when I asked, what are these 8 layers of anti-reflection, he had no clue of what to answer further. Sir, this is good. Yeah, अच्छा है. आप लेके जाइए. Please take this. This is good. We need to understand and clearly differentiate what are these 8 layers or 10 layers or 16 layers or 18 layers that we are talking about. Correct? So these are some of the layers. Now you will see that hard coat, from an Essilor Crizal perspective, you will have 3 layers of hard coat. One is the primer, one is the Titus lens. So every HMC lens that goes out of Essilor is basically something called as Titus inside, okay, which is one of the best and hard coating onto the lenses. You have at least around 4 stacks of AR. You have 4 stacks of AR, and then comes your dust and smudge resistance, and then we have a top layer which we need to remove because we use it for fitting. Let us just show you a video as to how we demonstrate the scratch resistance properties.
88% of anti-reflective glasses wearers declare scratch resistance to be an important feature when buying lenses, and 91% among non-anti-reflective wearers. Essilor developed a new technology to improve the scratch resistance of Crizal lenses. The Scratch Resistance Booster. It's a new intermediate layer matching the stress difference between hard coating and ultra-hard anti-reflective coating. It provides a perfect integration of components, creating a gradual increase of hardness from soft organic substrate to ultra-hard mineral surface. The scratch resistance test consists in abrading 2 lenses at the same time with Illumina abrasives, a reference lens and Crizal Forte. After each 100 cycles, we measure the haze to simulate the aging of the lens over time. The lower the haze value, the better the scratch resistance. Crizal Forte shows the lowest haze value. It is clearly the best, just as scratch resistant as a glass lens with anti-reflective coating. A perception test based on reading comfort and letter sharpness has been performed in an independent laboratory. It shows that Crizal Forte remains the clearest lens after abrasion. This confirms that Crizal Forte provides the best resistance to scratches compared to previous Crizal generations and competitors.
So what you just saw in the video is how exactly we test the scratch resistant properties of the Crizal lenses. So every batch that the mass manufacturing runs, there are samples which are taken out, and each of the samples goes through this rigorous test of Bayer test. Have you seen this Bayer test? So there are the sand rock particles which is there in a tray, and it is been covered onto the lens, and then it starts just oscillating like this, allowing the lens to get scratched, right? And then we see the haze value, okay? You understand what is haze? Because after scratching, we need to understand in simple terms, even after scratching, what is the transmission of light, correct? So that is something that each batch of Essilor Crizal that is mass manufactured. Each batch goes through this kind of rigorous process so that we get you lenses which are optimum in your scratch resistance properties. Let's talk about smudge resistance. Now you can see some pictures out here. What is this HSD process? Did you know that smudge resistance has a technology behind it? And we want to bring forward to you all as to what is this technology and how Crizal lenses can be made smudge resistant. So what is the technology all about? So it's very much important for you all to know and also maybe tell this to your consumers, because that's how you're going to differentiate the premiumness from the market lenses. So what is this smudge resistance? Also called as oleophobic coating. So basically each lens, okay, the coating process is nothing but it happens in a vacuum chamber, okay, and it's not a liquid, it's basically fumes. So there are different chemicals. Because of the laser light, they get converted into fumes, okay, and they get deposited on the surface of the lenses. Now what happens in the HSD process is, the full form of HSD is high surface density, okay. Now if you look a standard lens, it's all about molecules, okay. It's all about molecules or particles of those chemicals that are deposited onto your lenses. Now what happens in a standard lens is, these molecules are separated far away from each other, okay. And what is smudge? What is smudge? How do you define smudge? It's oily particle, right, which is little greasy, thick, okay. And when it comes onto your lens, what happens when you try to clean it? It spreads. So you have to keep on cleaning it, right? Now what happened? Your cleaning cycles have increased. Now you would have seen in the previous video, when a cleaning cycle increases, what happens? Your lens is susceptible to scratches, right? So you are ensuring that your lens is getting scratched. So how do we make this? Because of smudges, we reduce the cleaning cycles. So with Crizal lenses, you wipe it once in one direction, the smudges are taken care of, or the smudges are removed. So what we do is, we have a coating technology called as high surface density, where we bring the molecules very close to each other. They are so close to each other that when the smudges are formed, they are not absorbed between the molecules. So what happens is, it's just one wipe and it's taken off. But in a standard lens, what happens is, the smudge will get settled between those molecules. And when you try to clean it, it will start getting spreaded across the lens. And then you keep on cleaning it. So this is what an HSD process is all about, okay. So I will show you one more video of this technology which we have, so that you will get a thorough understanding of what I am talking about.
85% of anti-reflective glasses wearers are interested in smudge resistance if it's proposed by eye care professionals. Through continuous research effort, Essilor developed the high surface density process. With a standard top coat process, hydrophobic and oleophobic molecules are not well connected, and the lens surface is not totally covered. With the high surface density process, the density of the molecules is increased and the lens surface perfectly covered. To validate hydrophobic and oleophobic properties, Essilor R&D uses the contact angle measurement. The higher it is, the better the smudge efficiency. With the high surface density process, the contact angle of a water droplet is improved to an unrivaled 116 degrees for Crizal Forte. When dipped in oil, Crizal Forte clearly shows its superior ability to repel oil and smudges. Not only against a standard anti-reflective lens, but also against all competitors' lenses, and even against the last Crizal generations. Another test demonstrates Crizal Forte cleaning efficiency over time. Permanent ink is applied to the lens. Tape is applied and removed 3 times in an attempt to remove the ink. The lens transmission is measured to determine how much light passes through. The lens is then subjected to 5,000 cleaning cycles. The entire process is repeated 4 times, resulting in 20,000 cleaning cycles. The results are remarkable. Crizal Forte starts clear, is easy to clean, and stays that way longer than any other lens on the market. Crizal Forte's superior hydrophobic layer never breaks down. 98% of Crizal Forte's cleanability remains even after 20,000 cleaning.
So when we are talking about these technologies, right, these are the current trends that are coming up in terms of Crizal. We know that Crizal Forte has been there since many, many years, and we had already implemented these technologies then. So there are other players now who are coming to catch up with these technologies. So this is the current trend that we are looking at, where there are other players who are coming in, portraying themselves as this is super hydrophobic, UV control, blue cut. So we will see in further slides how these trend lenses and how you can differentiate them from the premium lenses. Now when we talk about water repellent properties, how do you define the water repellent properties of a AR lens? It all depends upon the contact angle, right? So when a drop of lens, if you see a standard lens, when a drop of water falls onto the lens, the water just spreads. Okay? And when you tilt the lens, you will see that there are flow marks which are formed. So are the current AR lenses able to get a contact angle like that? So that is something that we need to test and see. So this is the current trend that we can show in terms of how we can show the efficacy of your water repellent properties, right? So clearly we are trying to understand as to how we can differentiate and build a premiumness to what you are selling into in terms of the premium lenses into your stores. When we talk about dust repellent, so there is a technology that goes behind it, right? Okay, and what is dust? Dust is a what charge particle? It's a positively charged particle, and your lens is a negatively charged particle, right? So when you start wiping your lenses with a cloth, what happens? It generates static electricity, correct? Have you ever seen that comb, when you comb in a dry hair and put it on bits of paper, the paper gets attracted towards the comb? That is static electricity, correct? And even lenses generate static electricity. And when it generates static electricity, the dust particles are absorbed and are settled onto your lenses, correct? So now what do we do? Because your lens is a negatively charged surface and the dust is a positively charged surface. So what we do is we have some technology where we put in some molecules of positively charged particles onto your lenses. So what happens is positively charged particles of your of dust and the positively charged particles onto the surface of your lens are basically repelled. So when a dust particle comes in, it just trickles down. It doesn't allow it to be absorbed onto your lens. I will just move on to the next, which is basically UV protection. Okay? So now when we talk about UV protection, I'm not going to talk too much about UVA, UVB, UVC. So we know that UV impacts the eyes in some way, and it majorly impacts your crystalline lens. And there is UVA, which also hits your retina. So most of the cataract things that happens is because of the UV. Now what happens is when a beam of light falls onto a lenses, the transmission is the process of light that passes through it. But what happens is all the high index materials cuts UV from front side of the lens. You'll agree to that? all the high index lenses cuts UV from front side, but there is UV also getting reflected from the back surface of your lens, or also coming directly from the gaps of your spectacle and your forehead and getting into your eyes. So that is one of the biggest threat, wherein we say that 50% of the UV that your eyes receive is basically through the back surface reflection. So 40% of the UV that you generally receive is basically when you are in cloudy weather. So even if you are in cloudy weather, you still have the threat of receiving UV, and 50% of the UV is basically received through your reflections of light. So today all the buildings are made up of glass, so maybe that could be one of the example where the UV is getting into your eyes. So the trend today is basically there is a technology that goes behind as to how we can make the lenses UV protected even from the back surface. Okay? So what the simple technique here is basically when you have the surface of the lens, suppose this is the back surface of the lens. Okay? Since this has an AR, when a beam of light falls onto it, it has to transmit. Correct? But UV is something that needs to be that is getting reflected into your eyes. So what we do is there is a coating technology which even considers the non-visible light, and it acts like a sponge on the back of your lens. So what happens is when a drop of water is sprinkled onto the sponge, what will happen? The water will be absorbed. So similarly, this is a kind of coating that we provide on the back surface of the lens, wherein when the light falls, the visible light spectrum passes through, but the invisible light spectrum completely gets cut. It doesn't get reflected. It's called as the broad spectrum technology. So the demonstration is very clear over here. So if you see existing AR which doesn't have a back surface coating, a back surface UV coating, you can see that UV is still there. Can we see the video? So that's the UV ink. UV light falls on the side. We get onto the blue light. Okay? So we know that today we are living in a world of modern lights, and all modern lights emit a lot of UV, including your smartphones, your LEDs, everything. So we are known of this fact. So we have something called as the light spectrum out here. Okay? Now here it's very much important to understand that blue light is also essential. So if you see the light spectrum, you have the blue violet light and the blue turquoise light. Okay? So blue violet light is actually harmful for our eyes, and blue turquoise light is basically essential. Now why is light essential for us? Because it helps you in your sleep-wake cycle, it helps you in your memory skills, it helps you in your color perceptions, it helps you in your pupillary construction, right? So blue light is essential for our well-being, but at the same time, blue light can also be extremely harmful. Okay? It directly impacts your retina, so it impacts your rods and cones. So you have rods and cones. In a very, very simplistic language, what happens is this blue violet light is basically a very high energy and shorter wavelength light. Okay? Now when this enters into your eye, it hits your rods and cones. Now rods and cones, what happens is they are the photoreceptors. So when they receive light, they use the energy and they die, and they are regenerated. Now because of this light, what happens is the regeneration slows down, because your photoreceptors have a tendency to regain the weight. It's basically regaining the weight. But because what happens of the blue light, it shreds or it vibrates in so vigorously that the regeneration slowly stops, right? And that's why they say that it may lead to the conditions of AMD, where slowly what will happen is I will be able to see the center portion, but center portion will be dark, but other portions will be bright. So slowly it spreads and may lead you to a permanent blindness, and there is nothing that can be reversed. It also leads to eye strain. So what are the sources? It's basically sun, outdoors, and indoors we have all these digital gadgets which are the sources. Now just wanted to show you, for example, what is the LED light, how much of blue light it emits. So we have a light spectrum emitted by each of the digital gadgets. For example, if you see daylight, you'll see daylight emits more of good blue, which is essential for our well-being. So that's why you say in Scandinavian countries where they have to live in darkness because of winter season, when there is no light, they live in darkness for quite some time. And there the government, basically they go through a lot of depression related cases because of lack of light. So they actually go through a good blue light therapy with the doctors out there. And today the government of those countries have developed some lights which can be used inside, which emits light frequency which is equivalent to the daylight frequency, right? So that's the kind of importance the good blue light has in our well-being. The others, you can see the bulbs, the older bulbs that we used to use, it doesn't emit blue light at all. It used to emit more of yellow and infrared. So they were actually good for us, but it used to create a lot of strain onto our eyes. Similarly, if you see all the digital gadgets, they emit a very high amount of blue light onto your lenses. So Crizal Preventia is one such lenses. We also have other branded lenses which have come into the market saying that they are blue cut lenses. Now what is the difference between a Crizal Preventia and other blue cut lenses? Okay. Now Crizal Preventia has something called as light scan technology, which basically filters out UV and blue violet light. It filters out. So it's a light filtering technology. Okay. The other branded lenses that you have, they cut the blue. So that's the difference. Okay. Now what happens is Preventia cuts. We know that the most essential light which needs to be cut in terms of blue violet light is between 435 to 455 nanometer. This is the peak, if you see, and that light needs to be cut. But what happens in terms of other lenses are, they are basically 420 nanometer blanks or 420 nanometer material lenses. And I know that they come with a torch, correct? The torch test. The torch is basically a 410 nanometer and the lens is 420 nanometer. So when a 410 nanometer torch is incident on the 420 nanometer, it's never going to pass through, correct? Because the torch is 410 and the lens is 420. How it will pass? It will not. Now when you put Preventia, you will see that the light dims, but still the light passes through. Because we allow the essential blue light to pass through, we allow that blue turquoise light to pass through and cut only the blue violet light, right? We filter out only the blue violet light. So that's the difference between your mid-tier blue cut lens which has come into the market and the difference between Preventia. So we believe that blue light is essential for you and we filter out only what is not needed and allow the essential light to pass through. Because we also have to ensure that the transmission of light is maximum so that you can see things more clearly. So this is what generally we do. So the blue violet light is basically reflected and only the essential blue light is passed through from the front side also and back side also. So Preventia is a lens which has all the goodness of Forte UV, that is all the 5 enemies plus UV, plus it cuts or filters out the blue violet light and allows only the essential blue light to pass through.
Light is made of different wavelengths. Some of them are harmful to the eyes, like UV rays and blue violet light. These wavelengths can constitute a true danger for the human eye and trigger eye diseases like cataracts or AMD. UV rays attack the cornea and the crystalline lens. Over time, their cumulative effect contributes to the crystalline lens getting cloudy, potentially leading to cataract. Blue violet light penetrates deeper into the eye and reaches the retina. These specific wavelengths have recently been identified as being harmful to retinal cells. Blue violet light is involved in their gradual degeneration. It is one of the proven causes of AMD. Degenerated retinal cells cluster and constitute drusen. When they multiply in the retina, this may indicate an age-related macular degeneration. A comprehensive eye exam can help detect drusen, therefore early stages of AMD. Today, Essilor introduces Crizal Prevencia, the clear lens which provides the most complete protection in terms of visual health. Thanks to Light Scan, Crizal Prevencia lenses selectively filter light. It blocks UV rays and, for the first time, selectively filters out blue violet light, while passing through essential light to preserve vision and well-being. In vitro tests proved that Crizal Prevencia significantly reduces retinal cells' death. Crizal Prevencia also benefits from the best Crizal technology. It protects from reflections, scratches, smudges, dust, and water, guaranteeing clear vision in all circumstances. Crizal Prevencia, lasting protection for eye health.
So basically, today if you see the trends in the market, blue cut lenses are basically trending quite faster. We can see advertisements coming out on blue cut. We can see lot of deals coming out on blue cut lenses. So today, the difference between your regular blue cut lens and a Crizal Prevencia lens is something, and the consumers are looking out for a difference in the in Crizal Prevencia and other blue cut lenses. So this is how you can demonstrate, saying that, you know, when it comes to Crizal Prevencia or the premium lenses, the difference is it filters only harmful blue violet rays and allows essential blue light, wherein in case of others, it completely cuts blue light, wherein we know that blue light is essential for our well-being. So that is the biggest difference between Crizal Prevencia and your regular lenses. So when we were just talking about Crizal, let me also introduce you to a new television ad that we are coming up with. Hope you would have seen that somewhere, but maybe just I wanted to introduce you to that television ad.
Coffee? Let's get some fresh coffee.
Crizal lenses, clearly the best, trusted by millions worldwide.
So this will go live in a short while on televisions. Let's get on to a new category, a different category, which are the fog-free lenses. Okay. Now, what happens when your lenses get fogged? So this is how you are going to see when the vision is absolutely foggy for you all, and it completely blinds you. It's one of the enemies which completely blinds you for that momentary thing. Maybe in our daily lives, fog may not be of a very big concern, but there are certain professions which are very needed in terms of these kind of lenses. For example, surgeons, because, okay. So these are the kind of professions that I wanted to show you, which absolutely need these kind of lenses, especially sports people, right? If they're wearing spectacles, so they generally, the lenses get fogged up because the outside temperature as well as the body temperature is different. In terms of doctors, because they wear the masks and they are into the air conditioned environment. So when they breathe, the hot air goes up and their lenses get fogged. So these are some of the conditions where fogged lenses can be of help. So we have a category called as OptiFog at the moment. So how this basically works is you have the lens, we have something called as, you would have heard about in anti-reflection lenses, you have something called as hydrophobic layer. Okay, when it comes to your OptiFog lenses, we have a layer called as hydrophilic layer. Okay, now hydrophobic is it repels water, and hydrophilic is basically it absorbs water, right? So what happens is fog is like tiny droplets of water which are formed onto a lens. Now this droplets of water has to be finely spread out so that it forms a very thin film which is not visible for a normal eye, so that you still see things absolutely clearly. And this layer can be activated with the help of a solution or with the help of a special microfiber cloth which has certain molecules which activates that layer of coating, so that the water doesn't repel but it spreads. So this is the cloth that we are talking about. So this is in gist of what I was talking. So we have this droplet of water. If you zoom, the droplet of water will be this way, and when it spreads because of the hydrophilic layer, it forms a thin layer. Immediately the water starts spreading out and forms a thin layer on the surface of the lens because of that activation through the smart textile cloth. Let's touch upon photochromic segment. Now, what is photochromism? So you have a lens which is absolutely white, and because of UV energy it turns colored. So that is basically what we say, that indoors it's clear, outdoors it's dark. Now what we are trying to bring about here is apart from UV, now glare is one more threat, and there are a lot of people who are getting photosensitive in terms of they cannot bear bright lights. So this could be one of the best option for them. So these are the different kinds of glare that we are talking about today. So earlier we only used to talk about the sun glare, okay, but today we have reached a stage where there are different kinds of glares we are talking about. So we are talking about direct sun glare, we are talking about digital screen glare. So for direct sun glare, you are talking about photochromic lens as a solution. You are also talking about sunglasses as a solution. For digital screen glare, you are talking about blue cut lenses as one of the solutions. For reflected sun glare, you talk about polarized lenses, right? So we will see that in further slides how a polarized lens helps. And then you're talking about night glare, right? So what is the difference between a cheaper photochromics and a branded photochromic? What happens? So how cheaper photochromatics are made is basically when the lens material is in its liquid form, so they just put the dye inside that liquid, okay, just like adding sugar to tea, okay, and then when you mix it, so the dye also gets mixed thoroughly with the monomer, and then it goes into the mold, and then you get the lenses out. Now what is the problem with these kind of photochromic lenses, or I would say market or cheaper photochromatic lenses? What is the problem with these kind of lenses? You will get something called as bullseye effect. This is called as a bullseye effect. So basically if it's a plus power, because the solution, the dye is mixed throughout the lens, correct? Now what happens is your plus power is thicker at the center and thinner at the periphery. So what happens is that the lens, the cheaper photochromic will turn darker at the center and lighter at the periphery of your lens. So we call it as bullseye effect, correct? And that's not the experience that a consumer would want to have. In terms of minus powers, we call it as Rakhouning effect, because the edge thickness is more, so the lenses get darker on the periphery, but they will be lighter on the center of the lens, because in minus power the center thickness is lesser. So these are some of the problems that you will face in terms of photochromic lenses. Now, is photochromic lenses in trend? Do people like it? Slowly it is coming in trend. I would not say it's completely come in trend, but we need to talk about this as a solution to the consumers, today photochromic lenses are still being considered as a lens which is like for 40 plus, right? So you see that your penetration of photochromic lens in a progressive lens will be much higher as compared to a single vision lens, right? So we need to see how we can push across this as an experience to the consumers. Yes, price is also a factor which we need to consider. So let's see how transitions is different from these photochromatic lenses, because transitions basically has a technology called as imbibition technology, right? So in transition what happens is the monomer, the dye is not mixed inside the monomer, but the dye is basically is on the surface of the lens. It's on the surface of the lens, okay? It's not mixed throughout the monomer. It's just on the surface of the lens over which there is a special layer so that the dye doesn't come out, okay? It's called as a silicon hard coating layer which is there on the top of the photochromic layer. Now what happens is, because it's just a thin strip, it's 200 microns, that's all. You know, your one hair is 30 micron, is around 30 to 70 micron, it varies, okay? And this layer is 200 microns. So it's pretty thin, and it's just a fine surface on the top surface of your lens. So what happens is, when the light falls and when there is UV, okay, you will see that there is uniformity in terms of how the darkness happens. That's what transition technology is all about. So when you have a cheaper technology where you just mix the dye with the monomer, there is a problem, Rakuning effect, and you have a bullseye effect. But when it comes to transition or premium lenses, they use something called as imbibition technology or transbonding technology, where it's just on the top portion of the lens. So how do you describe a transition lens to a stranger? Have you at least tried to talk about transition lenses? Or just because of the fear that the consumer may not take, you don't prescribe transition as a solution to them? Or is it absolutely unfashionable? And price is definitely a factor that we are looking at. So generally, again, the answer that we get is, it is just a lens that turns darker outside and turns lighter inside. But is that it? So there is a lot more in between that happens. So when you go outside, suppose you're walking on a pavement, how dark the lenses should get, or how light the lenses should be, it all depends upon everything in between getting clear and in between getting darker, okay? Now what happens is, when you go outside, you have varying light conditions, correct? And your eyes are not able to adapt to the varying light conditions. And that's the reason where transition comes into the picture, where these lenses adapt to the varying light conditions to give you the most natural vision and good color perception. So it's basically an evolution from just being a lifestyle as a convenience to lifestyle as an experience. So transition lenses are the lenses which basically you need to experience in order to get the best outcome of it. So what is it that we are talking about in terms of photochromatic or light adaptive or light intelligent lenses, right? So we are just not talking about providing 100% UV. We are just not talking about getting light and dark. We are talking about correction. At the same time, we are talking about enhancing your vision, because your eyes are not able to adapt to different lighting conditions. There is a transition lens which helps you to enhance your vision by adapting to different lighting conditions. So now how do you describe transition lenses to a stranger now? The lenses that adapt to see you better because they adapt to different lighting conditions. They make vision look richer. Why? Because these lenses turn dark, they come with variable colors. You have brown, you have gray, you have green. So brown color is basically the color which we look at when you have to increase the contrast ratio. Gray is a color which we generally use in order to keep a very natural vision, and green color is basically to help you to see colors more brighter and more vibrant. So we do have transition signature lenses which has been developed based on live 360-degree measurements. So generally what happens is, all these photochromatic lenses are basically measured in labs. So there are 3 temperatures at which they are measured. and how dark it gets and how light it gets. Okay? So this is at 18 degrees, maybe 25 degrees and 32 degrees Celsius. So that's all. But how these photochromatic lenses have to adapt to different lighting conditions in real life conditions is something that we need to look at. So if you see, a lens would have different parameters. So you will have darkness, any photochromatic lenses will become dark, will have AR compatibility, will have different colors, will have a specific speed of darkening and then fading back. They are temperature dependent. Please remember that photochromatic lenses, after a certain temperature, the molecules of the dyes will fade back. They will not become darker. So you need to be extremely clear when you talk to a consumer that more the temperature, darker it gets. It's not that. So photochromatic lenses or transition lenses are temperature sensitive. After a certain high temperature, they fade back. Okay? But when it comes to a transition signature lens, it stays there. It doesn't fade back. But if you see cheaper lenses or even the previous generations of transitions, they fade back and become lighter after a certain temperature threshold. So now how this 360-degree approach works is how dark it should get at different geographic position. For example, a photochromatic lens in Chennai, will it become as dark as it is in Bangalore? What do you all say?
No.
No? Why?
Because of temperature.
Because of temperature? It also depends upon humidity levels. It also depends upon altitude from the sea, because higher the altitude, more the UV. So photochromatic lenses will turn more darker in places which are at higher altitude, right? So if you go to a place like Shimla, if you go to a place like hill station, you will see that your lenses will turn more darker as compared to a place which is very, very humid. So your darkness depends upon your geographic position, the time of the day, how dark it will get. What is the highest UV timing? Between which time of the day is the UV highest?
12 noon. 12 noon.
It's basically between 8 to 12, right? That's the highest amount of UV that we receive, and that's the time we all are outdoors, correct? We're going to office, children are school, and all those things. So most of the activity happens between basically that time. After that, we are either indoors in the offices, right? So what time of the day and how much dark your lenses should get also depends upon the photochromic property. So you have so many variables, and for each variable you have to see at different geographic conditions, at different time of the day, different UV conditions, what is the light outside, wearer position, because you don't face the sun all the time. Maybe sometimes you are like this. So it should not happen that only one lens turns too dark and other doesn't turn dark because of the UV content is more on this side, right? In cheaper photochromatics, you will be able to see this. But in branded photochromatic lenses like a transition, okay, you will never see this. It gets uniformly dark. So even if you're walking on a pavement which is shady but you're outdoors, or you're walking in the sun, so that the darkness will depend. Okay, so if you're walking on a pavement which is shaded, the lenses will not turn as dark as it would turn when you are in the full sunlight. So that's how a transition, or that's how a photochromatic lens should behave in order to give you the best possible vision. Because if you are walking in a shady condition and if the lenses are too dark, you will have problem seeing things very clearly, correct? So when we talk about real life situations, transition signature are the only lenses which are tested in different conditions, different countries. It has been tested at different weathers, different seasons, different time of the day, multiple temperatures, and then this product has been brought forward to give the best possible experience to the consumers based on how dark it gets. Okay. Even today, transition signature lenses are supposed to become the darkest. There are others, Zeiss Photo Fusion, that is one of the lenses which they are putting across, also gets dark, but it's just not about how dark it gets. It also depends upon how fast it fades back. One of the best tests that you can look at is, suppose a person is going on a motorbike wearing a transition or a photochromatic lenses, and suddenly they enter into a tunnel. How the lens should behave? It's going to be a disaster if the lenses does not fade back. So when we talk about transition lenses, when we talk about transition as a lens, within 1 minute, the darkness from 80% comes down, reduces by 70%. So the tint, transition lenses achieves a tint up to 80%, okay, which we call it as a category 3 tint. So there are different tint levels. So category 3 comes under the sunglass segment. Your sunglasses and all are category 3 tint, okay, which is up to 80%. Above 90% are basically specific occupational based tint. For example, welding, okay. You cannot wear a welding glass and go outside because it's almost 90-95% tinted lens. So the transmission of light is absolutely zero because when you're welding, it's a very bright light and you need to be protected. So photochromic lenses basically falls under the category 3 tint, which is up to 80%. Now what happens in terms of transition lenses is from 80%, within a minute it will come down by 70%, which is nothing but it will have 25% tint. Now even when you go indoors, okay, when you come from outdoors and you go indoors, transition lenses within a very short amount of time comes back to its 25 to 30% tint. And for a consumer, even if your lenses are tinted up to 25 to 30%, a consumer will perceive that lens as being absolutely clear. So the tint doesn't disturb the visual clarity of when you are indoors of the consumer. So this is something what a transition can give you. But when it comes to other brands, yes, they become dark, but how fast does it fade is the challenge. So this is the trend that we are looking at in photochromatic lenses, though these come under the premium segment, but we need to know that when we are dispensing these kind of lenses to the consumers, it's good to be dark, okay. Maybe some cases we have seen or consumers have said that PhotoFusion or recipes have said PhotoFusion turns more darker, but that's not it. It's good that it gets dark. It looks beautiful, but how fast it fades back is also a efficacy of a photochromatic lens. So when we talk about transition signature lenses, we do not compare our transition lenses to any other brand because of the kind of innovation that goes into it, because of the kind of technology that is being used in order to get these lenses, right? So what happens is when we compare this with the previous generation of transition lenses, we see that it is more reactive. See, we also need to see that how your lenses are reactive to indirect light. Now there are many cases that you get exposed to indirect light, okay. So transition lenses are the lenses which also reacts to the indirect light. For example, you're sitting in your office, which is very close to a window, and the light is bright because the windows are open, so light is bright, right? So normal photochromatic lenses will not turn tinted, but when it comes to your transition lenses, because of this indirect light, even UV is coming in, so your lenses will have a slight tint which will give you a better quality of vision even when you are indoors. So that's what we mean to say that your light should be, your photochromatic lenses are indirect, reactive to indirect sunlight. And other parameters are basically how dark it gets, 20% darker, 20% faster fade back. So these are some of the things that we are looking at when we talk about the trends in transition or photochromatic lenses. So you can see that these are some of the factors which will actually define a good photochromatic lens. First, is it reactive to indirect light? Because your eyes might be sensitive to bright light, whether you're indoors or outdoors. So you will have to see. Second thing is how dark it gets outdoors. Is that it? No. How fast it fades back. So these are some of the conditions that you need to see. Less sensitive to temperature change. As I said, up to a certain temperature, all photochromatic lenses will become dark. But beyond a certain temperature, the nature of the photochromatic molecules are such that they start fading back. Your photochromatic lenses will fade back. So but the transition will not fade back. It will just stay, the darkness will just stay there. So that is one of the way of looking at a trend in how a transition or a photochromatic lens will basically perform in different conditions. And definitely the indoor clarity state. So once you are indoors, you see the photochromatic lenses after 6 months to 7 months, it will retain its tint. So you will see that the lenses are actually tinted, whether they are going in or out, it doesn't matter. The lenses have become tinted after 6 to 7 months of usage. So that is one of the efficacy levels of how we can distinguish between different transition lenses or different photochromatic lenses. So how do you recommend a photochromatic or a transition lens to your customers? The number one fact is most of the customers do not know that transitions, adaptive lenses or any photochromatic lenses are a solution for them. That's why we talked about in the earlier stages about lifestyle. So we need to understand the lifestyle. So if there is a consumer, even if he's a youngster, going outside, spending more time outdoors, maybe this could be a better solution for them. The only thing is we need to talk about it. The number two fact is most of the opticians or ECPs, eye care practitioners, do not talk about transition as a solution at a first stage. It definitely comes maybe later stages where we are see where the deal is almost getting over. Would you like to try a transition lens? What is the price? Then it gets into that mode. So what our recommendation is, if you try to talk about a photochromatic option right at the beginning of the stage, knowing the lifestyle of the person and state it there, sir, these are the lenses best for you, whatever brand it is. So these are the lenses that is best for you. So that's the trend we are looking at the moment. So there are some retailers who are selling good amount of photochromatic lenses, not only transitions or not other brands, but different brands, but good photochromatic lenses is what we have seen. The penetration of photochromatic is high. The only difference is basically the way they pitch it. So there are some retailers who pitch photochromatic as a solution right at the beginning of the conversation rather than at the last stage. You can also look at the optometrist who is doing an eye test, could be one of a very strong candidate who can try to pitch a premium lens while doing the eye test itself. Because when you are doing the eye test, you can ask several questions. There are a lot of retailers who ask a lot of good questions while doing the eye test itself. So the primary way of qualifying a customer, where the customer, which category the customer to fall into, whether it's just a anti-reflective lens or whether it's a anti-fatigue or that kind of lens, or whether it's a lens progressive, or whether they need to go for a photochromatic category. So these categories can be identified by the optometrist while doing the eye test itself. And when the optometrist hands over the consumer to the salesperson, it becomes even more easier for the salesperson or the counter sales staff to pitch the solution, because they will trust that optometrist is the one who have given them this solution. So this is one of the trends we are seeing which is changing, wherein as I said, dispensing is a skill which is unique to traditional ECPs, and we need to play to that strength. So we have seen that earlier not many optometrists were a part of the selling process, but we have seen now there are many retailers who are making optometrists as a part of their retail sales, where the mindset of the consumer is changed in the clinic itself. So you will see that some of the benefits of transitions as a premium thing is, apart from all the benefits that you get with an anti-reflection coating, maybe a scratch resistance, smudge, water, dust and all those things, UV definitely, transition lenses also helps cut blue. So if you sell a transition lens, okay, maybe I would say a Crizal, it still cuts blue. You don't need to give a transition with the Preventia. So the transition lens with the Crizal coating will have the same kind of blue cut efficacy as compared to that of a clear lens with the Preventia, right? So these are some of the trends which are there in the market at the moment, where there are different solutions. Let's say for example, a consumer walks inside, okay, and you ask him questions, sir, how many hours do you use gadgets? Because that's one of the biggest question. And they say maybe 5 hours, 7 hours. And what is your lifestyle? What do you do? You will ask about the profession, right? And profession involves like mostly going outdoors. So at that point itself, you can give transition as a solution, because transition or a photochromatic, I don't know about other photochromatics, but transition does cut blue. We have the research papers for that. So what happens is you can pitch it to the consumer saying that since you go outdoors, so you need to be protected from glare. At the same time, you use a lot of digital gadgets indoors, so you need to be protected from blue cut. At the end of the day, you also need anti-reflection. So transition will have anti-reflection. So it becomes a complete solution for the consumer, which can be pitched at the right stage, because you know about the lifestyle of the person, right? So give them as a solution rather than making it feel like as if it's a selling process that is happening. We move into the next section of flash coating. This is more of fashion. You will have a lot of consumers coming into the stores asking for fashionable lenses. So we are currently moving from a generic anti-reflection to specific UV protect, blue protect, to transition or photochromics, to something called as fashion lenses. And this is currently quite a bit in trend going on at the moment. But what happens is, do we have these lenses available in prescription? So this is one of the market trends that is happening. So sunglass market is one of the fastest that is growing. Yes, there are a lot of options that a consumer has in terms of sunglasses today. Today consumer needs are, most of them are traveling, right? So consumers keep traveling, and it has become a routine for them, and sunglass becomes one of the best options for them as a secondary pair. So these flash coatings cannot be a primary pair, it has to be a secondary pair, and consumers are looking for this as a secondary pair. And 60% of the consumers, there is a study which had happened in 2010 though, so which says that almost 60% of the consumers who are on spectacles would like to have prescription sunglasses with mirror coats, exactly how it would fit on a new set of sunglasses. So we do have mirror coats. So mirror coats, there are a lot of brands which are selling mirror coats. You have Visionarix, you have Zeiss, you have Essilor, you have other small players also getting into this kind of category, because consumers are looking at it. And the biggest consumers for this is between the age of 16 to 20. These are one of the highest consumers for that. 16 to 20 age group are the highest consumers for these kind of coatings. Now what are basically these kind of coatings? Yes, how do they help you? They help you from sun glare, harmful UV and all those things. So it's needless to take you through these kind of slides, because it just helps you from UV, from glare. What we are looking at more at is a fashion statement. So you see that flash coats or mirror coats have become more of a fashion statement rather than a pure, it's more of a cosmetic look which a consumer would like to prefer, preferably with the RX on it. Polarized lenses. So this is one more category that is in trend. So this is something that we have already discussed. What is a polarized light? Most of us find it very difficult to pitch a polarized spectacle, though we have tools. Ray-Ban had a tool where you see that sticker polarized sticker with the Ray-Ban, and you can see the picture very clearly. So polarized lenses are basically sold on the strength of these tools. But what is the technology behind it? So we need to understand what is basically the technology behind it, so that we will be in a better position to pitch a polarized category to the consumers, explaining the benefit and how it actually works, right? Why is it only when you wear a polarized lens you are able to see that picture, right? So that is something that we are planning to cover over here. So what is a polarized light? So basically what happens is, when a beam of light comes from the sun, it comes in multi-direction, right? You can see that it comes in multi-directions. But when it hits the surface, it comes in only one plane, one horizontal direction, right? And that is what creates a maximum glare onto your eyes. Now if you see what happens in a polarized lens is, it's just not a brand Xperio, but what happens in a polarized lens, it has a polarized film sandwiched between a lens, okay? Now what exactly this polarized lens does? Now if you would have seen, when the light falls on a particular surface and when it reflects only in horizontal direction, correct? And vertical direction, okay? So it becomes a bidirectional light as compared to a multidirectional when it is emitted by the sun. Now this horizontal direction light which hits your eye is what is creating that blinding glare, okay? And vertical light, it doesn't do any harm to your eyes. So we need to cut that horizontal light. So what happens is, a film which is there, we have shown the microscopic picture of the film of a polarized lens. So this film will have stretched molecules which are basically stretched. So what happens is, only the vertical light can pass through, but the horizontal light is completely blocked, right? So this is basically the technology behind what a polarized film is all about. So the results are very clear. So mostly when you go driving, the reflected light which falls on your bonnet or on the road, it basically cuts the glare. This is water. Before we go, I would like to show the video of how the polarized lens behaves. Whatever we had explained, which you saw in terms of pictures, maybe a video will help you to understand things much better. So next, moving to the last section of this presentation is basically lens materials. So there are two main families of lens materials: glass, which is almost becoming obsolete, so it's only organic, that is plastic. And we have today these many kind of refractive index materials which we have. So what is basically refractive index? It's basically the ability of the lens to basically divert the light, okay? And higher the index, the more it is able to refract or divert the light. Now what happens when it comes to very high plus power or a very high minus powers? So this is the conditions that we can see. Today you see that market is completely moving towards a 1.56, 1.56, and now we can see that the trend is that the market is moving towards 1.6 index and 1.59 index, okay. So the key benefits to consumer is basically it's more attractive, more comfortable, since we saw that one of the levers that the consumer is looking for in a spectacle lens is to be more comfortable and lightweight. So we can choose that kind of benefit to the consumers based on the kind of material that you offer. Now each material has a different property to play, okay. Now 1.5 index is the basic material that we have, which from front it blocks around 94 to 95% of UV, right. But it can be prescribed only to a certain power range, beyond which we talk about spheric lenses and aspheric lenses. Most of the 1.5 lenses are basically spheric lenses. To a very small power, it's okay to give, but we are now looking at a trend where 1.56 is more evident, 1.5 is almost getting extinct, right. So that's the trend which is currently going on. Now which is one of the best material which we can say that is good? Yes, when we talk about high index material, we are looking at two which can be prescribed to everyone. We are looking at two kind of materials. One is a 1.59, which is a polycarbonate, and one is a 1.6, which is a MR8 kind of material, right. But from a benefit, consumer benefit point of view, polycarbonate lenses are far superior in terms of impact resistance. So we do have airwear. Now what happens, now this will be true for every polycarbonate lens. It's just not to airwear, but you look at any polycarbonate lenses, it will have this kind of benefit. Absolutely light, they're impact resistant, 100% UV, basically from front side, and eco-friendly. And for airwear, we have also done a sensory test. Now when we talk about materials, we also talk about something called as chromatic aberration, correct? Or we call it as Abbe value. So when we talk about the best Abbe value will be with which index? 1.5. 1.5 will have the best Abbe value, okay. As you go up, the least Abbe value will be basically in polycarbonate lenses. They say that chromatic aberrations is much higher. That's precisely why when we got this airwear as a lens, there was a sensory test that we did. What a sensory test is all about is, so I will not talk about the first half because we already know about it. It was a test which was performed by an independent company. So what happens is they check the lens hue. How is the lens hue behind a white background? Because when we talk about chromatic aberrations, maybe colors may look little haywire, right? So we tested this, so it was absolutely okay. It was tested the clarity of polycarbonate lenses behind a white page. So how the color looks of a white page is something that was tested. Color rendering in terms of when a consumer is wearing with spectacles and without spectacles, how is the color perception in terms of polycarbonate lenses. And the last is the contrast ratio. So when we are reading something while wearing a polycarbonate lenses, how is the contrast ratio? Because of this chromatic aberrations, these are the factors which comes into the picture for a polycarbonate material, right? But the best option of a polycarbonate material is durability in terms of impact resistance. These are virtually unbreakable lenses, the lightest lenses which you can see. In terms of clarity of vision, they are also sometimes called as the water clear glasses, because in certain angles, if you can see that lady, she is wearing a rimless frame, best suited for rimless frame. In certain angles, you cannot even see that the lady is wearing a lens, right?
What is the most important expectation of a wearer when purchasing eyeglass lenses? The Vision Council of America conducted an important survey among 100,000 wearers to get a clear answer to that very question. Research revealed that the number one patient request when selecting a new lens is lightweight lenses, while the second most important patient request, according to research, is impact resistance. To address these specific consumer needs, Essilor created AirWear, the lens that offers the best comfort and safety for a wearer due to its lightness and impact resistance. Pioneer in the development of ophthalmic polycarbonate lenses, Essilor dedicated 2 decades of research to create AirWear without compromising on quality. Every batch of resin for AirWear must pass quality control measures, and every AirWear lens meets demanding requirements for strength, clarity, and cleanliness. These measures make AirWear lenses truly superior optics compared to any other polycarbonate lens. AirWear lenses' low density, combined with a refractive index of 1.6, and Essilor's process makes it possible to obtain 1.0 millimeter center thickness in a lens, resulting in a very thin lens that is very light. Practically speaking, there are 2 key benefits for the wearer. For active wearers looking for a comfortable and lightweight eyeglass lens, AirWear is the best answer for any situation. AirWear's lightness can be easily demonstrated by the following test. 2 columns are filled with salt water. An AirWear lens and a standard plastic lens with the same diameter and power are dropped within the columns. Results: the AirWear lens floats on top of the liquid where the standard plastic is submerged. AirWear lenses are 30% lighter than standard plastic lenses. Thanks to Essilor optimized designs and coatings, AirWear lenses provide superior optical performance to give you the clarity you need for seeing perfectly through all your daily tasks. Thanks to lightness and optical performance, the wearer not only feels comfortable with their AirWear lenses, but can also see their best. Eye injury from impacts in sports is more frequent than we think. In our active lives, the need for durable and impact-resistant eyewear is essential, especially for children. AirWear lenses offer the best impact resistance available on the market today. To demonstrate the strength, safety, and impact resistance of AirWear lenses, Essilor designed a testing tool that simulates an object hitting a lens. The testing tool simulates the effect of a weighted ball dropping on the lens. The instrument piece is raised at 1.27 meters and then dropped. Results: the standard plastic lens breaks, while the AirWear lens is slightly impacted but not broken. As you can see, the AirWear lens is not damaged by the impact, thus protecting eyes. AirWear offers unparalleled impact protection for the wearer. AirWear lenses are 12 times more impact resistant than standard plastic and 5 times more than Trivex. Every day we are exposed to ultraviolet radiation from the sun, but we do not perceive its damage to our eyes. UV rays damage the cornea of the eye, especially in children, as their crystalline lens has not yet fully developed a UV filter. AirWear lenses offer long-lasting protection and filter 100% of ultraviolet rays, making AirWear the best option for any outdoor activity and sport. AirWear lenses answer wearer expectations of lightweight and thin lenses, resulting in a comfortable lens. AirWear also meets expectations for impact resistance, keeping eyes safe during all activities. In addition, AirWear lenses block 100% UV rays, offering long-lasting protection for your eyes. AirWear is compatible with all of Essilor's premium designs and coatings. You will be more than satisfied with AirWear lenses and their performance. an Essilor lens.
So when it comes to cosmetics, definitely we need not talk much about this. Higher the index, more thinner the lenses. We also need to, when we are choosing the material, the fastest today is 1.56. So we also need to see in high index, which is the index which is moving. I think in high index, one of the fastest moving today in the market is 1.6 index, which is MR8 resin, which almost every company has that solution. What we need to think about is even high index in terms of tintability, how is it, right? We spoke about Abbe value, which is one of the basic consideration while choosing the material. We are also looking at how easy it is to fit, right? The easy ability to fit onto the spectacle lens, spectacle frame. In terms of tinting, because there are consumers who look at tinting, so how basically easy it is to tint these kind of lenses. Impact resistance, we have already seen. When it comes to 1.59 index, polycarbonate lenses have the best impact resistance. If you compare 1.59 and 1.6 in terms of Abbe value, yes, 1.6 is still higher, but in terms of impact resistance, these lenses still break, right? So coming to the end of this session is basically whenever you kind of give a spectacle to the consumers, it's basically always a parameter of a material, surface and value adds. So basically when we look at clarity of vision, it all depends, it's a combination. It's a combination of the material that you choose, because each material has a different transmission of light based on the refractive index. So clarity also depends upon the kind of material that you use. Clarity depends upon the kind of design that you use, right? And clarity also depends upon the kind of anti-reflection coating that you use. So all these parameters are equally important when we kind of give spectacles to the